This is not remotely fun, but it's very necessary. I'd like to start by asking for a moment of silence to honor the senseless tragedy that happened 2 days ago in Florida, please. Thank you. And as you know, if you're in education, everything runs full circle, so let's go to the far other side of that. I'd like to start also by giving Cove Road a shout out for being on WPIX Channel 11 last night. Now to the official program. Good morning, and thank you for arriving as early as you have. There's an old adage that good things come in threes, and that's certainly relevant for everyone on hand here today. For the romantics among us, Wednesday was Valentine's Day. For fans of the national pastime, pitchers and catchers have reported. And for all of us in the auditorium this morning, what could be better than a full day of professional development? Three good things. As such, before we turn you loose to become even better at what you do, I would like to offer a sense of who your new district leader is, and to some extent, who he is not. I have completed my meet and greets with all 8 schools and crossed tangible paths, albeit briefly, with the majority of everyone in the audience today. For the benefit of those I have not met, or for those who are not paying attention when we did, allow me a brief overview of how I ended up here standing before you at this podium this morning. Long ago, I graduated from Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania with a bachelor's degree in English. Over the next decade, I earned my master's in English education from Rutgers, and ultimately my doctorate in educational leadership from Rowan University. The child of a single parent, I went to Albright to become a lawyer. And as I was applying to law schools in my junior year, I thought, what if I don't get in? So I also student taught just to have something to fall back on. I got into 3 of the 4 law schools I applied to, but as everyone out there in front of me can probably attest to, student teaching changed my life. So I came home and told my mom I didn't want to be one of those guys who did something for money. I wanted to be one of those folks who did something he loved. So at 22, there I was, teaching English at Manalapan High School, coaching varsity soccer and wrestling, and loving every minute. I had a sparkle in my eye, a song in my heart. I was going to change the world. Other than the birth of my children, they were the greatest days of my life. Truth be told, I didn't even know what a superintendent was. So here this morning, I feel particularly responsible to verify the relevance and hopefully the impact of this position with me at the helm. After nearly a decade as a high school teacher and coach, I moved off to Brookdale, first as an English instructor, then a department chair, followed by academic dean, and finally the director of education, working out of the executive vice president's office on my way to bigger and better leadership opportunities. I was making more money, in charge of more people, had a seat at the president's cabinet, was in a good place professionally, but something was missing. Kids. The higher you go in college leadership, the less you see of them. Sadly, the one thing I went to this business for in the first place had become collateral damage in my upward career trajectory. So, as I was getting my doctoral degree, I took the praxis on a whim for superintendency and principalship. Passed them both, and literally on another whim, went for an interview in Union Beach. Someone who had 9 years of high school teaching and 16 years in higher education was hired as a superintendent in a K-8 district. I must interview well. That was 2 years ago. I came in knowing nothing about K-8, nothing about special education, and set myself to the task of learning, which I did. Every month, the Monmouth County superintendents meet at what's called a roundtable. And at my first meeting, I looked around and I picked out those superintendents who I thought understood how things worked. One of the 3 or 4 I chose was Dr. Bernie Bragan. And because he was literally right across the highway, I came to visit him probably once or twice a month the first year I was in Union Beach. He had a special ed background. He knew a lot of stuff that I needed to learn. And interestingly enough, every single time I drove out When I saw the size of this district, the facilities of this district, the energy in the hallway, I would say to myself, this is what I want. Things happen in an interesting and unusual way, and here I stand before you today. I still have a sparkle in my eye. I still have a song in my heart. And I'm living proof that I'm not remotely afraid to roll the dice, having walked away from a well-paying, tenured position because I wasn't finished with what I started to do all those years ago, and that was change the world. In the interest of full disclosure, the one concession I have made over time is that instead of changing the world, it would be more practical and doable to concentrate on a single community, and that's exactly what I have in mind. My message here this morning: put Hazlitt in the conversation. That will be our mantra moving forward. And I am asking each and every one of you to join that conversation. Roll up your sleeves, both literally and metaphorically. Blow up the culture. Steamroll us into 21st century learning with ideas, adrenaline, energy, and vision. I want Hazlitt to become the best middle-class educational community in America. This is neither hyperbole nor offered for effect. I fully recognize, as the Beatles once suggested in song, that it will be a long and winding road. Today we take that first step, and we're not looking back. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built. Education has changed significantly, some would say drastically. The teacher is no longer the center of the circle. Traditional pedagogy is no longer the curriculum standard. Today we are charged with meeting learners where they are, wherever they are, and leading them across a productive finish line by virtue of a variety of innovative, still emerging, still being defined processes and procedures. 21st century learning. You do the most important job in the world, and I see it as my responsibility to provide the resources and the opportunities so you can keep doing that job, educating our students to achieve their maximum potential, as they say here in Hazlitt. As often happens with new leadership, everyone wants to know, where do we go from here? Frankly, I have no idea, because that, my friends, is up to every single one of you. There is no treasure map, no mystical elixir, no best way to proceed. My intent today is not to outline a specific plan or offer an approved course of study. My intent is rather to start the conversation, to get you thinking that business as usual is business no more. When you leave here shortly, you will have over 50 first steps to take, 50 conversations to start, because your peers will be leading the charge at those sessions you attend. I am not speaking to you this morning in a vacuum. I am throwing out the first pitch, and I expect every single one of you to be waiting, bat in hand, I trained on the ball. I imagine at this point, if you're not checking your phone, some of you are whispering to the person sitting next to you or thinking to yourself, is he crazy? We've been doing this way for years. Why change now? Are you hearing this as would be a Charlie Brown teacher? Wah, 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 wah. Or are you actually listening, preparing, signing on, believing that the need is real and the time is now? Because I assure you, the train is preparing to leave the station, and only you can decide if you'll be on board. I know full well no amount of strategies or impassioned speech will improve instruction without a shift in our belief systems. And I am absolutely aware of the naysayers and the doubters. Naysayers don't need an agenda. They can simply raise an eyebrow, roll their eyes, shrug their shoulders. None of that requires any effort. Their defense mechanisms are second nature. They have all the not for me, thanks but no thanks, I'll do it my way retorts already in place. It's easier that way than actually taking a risk. Well, I'm calling you out. Why do you think the wizard told Dorothy to bring him the witch's broom? Because he never thought she'd pull it off, and he could be done with her. But as we all know, she had the courage of her convictions, and she had a team to put that plan in place. So do I. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that all students succeed, to accept that they learn differently than we did. And time is right for us to come together, another Beatles song, and encourage, not dissuade their journey, a journey with their voice in the mix. I haven't been in this district very long, but I can already identify several forward thinkers who are prepared to pull the status quo up by its roots and reinvent the way we reach, motivate, and prepare kids. Yes, there will be hurdles, challenges, benchmarks, dilemmas, and concerns. Yes, it will be easier to scoff at or disapprove than to take that all-important first step and believe. To teach those kids to believe in themselves, to look forward to their future, to not fear, but rather anticipate what awaits them. There is no greater challenge. There is no more meaningful reward. And if that doesn't motivate and excite you, you're in the wrong profession. A guaranteed win? Not at all. Risk and doubt will be on hand every step of the way. Still, baseball fan that I am, I'd rather strike out swinging at the plate than stay in the dugout and complain. So as I step to that plate, I ask one courtesy. Don't tell me no, tell me how. Contrary to popular belief, failure is an option. As from failure, we learn, we re-examine, we readjust, we correct, and we get back after it all over again. I don't have a magic wand. I can't foresee the future. But I don't disappoint easily, and I don't quit. So get out of your comfort zone and climb on board. Instead of reading, writing, and arithmetic, why not revisit, reinvest, and reemerge? I'll leave you with this. The Yankee fans in the audience are well aware that, as has happened in Hazlitt, a new manager will lead the team forward in the coming season. In a recent interview, a reporter asked this new manager, Aaron Boone, "Your message to the fans?" If I may, I would like to offer his reply as mine to all of you. You're going to get all I got, and you will. Thank you.